Or is that just the intro you gave us to give you?
The great thing is now, right, you see, there's so many people on Twitter who say they're experts about things. No one gets challenged anymore. Nah. It's really nice. I have no idea about anything. This is just I've been drafted in the last second.
We'll have to test you at some point. Before we crack on with this, this episode is brought to you in association with the Football Index, the football stock market, where you can buy and sell players for real money. Sign up today at footballindex.co.uk and use the code TBMINDEX to trade with a £500 money-back guarantee. New customers only, 18 plus, and more on that later because Pete's our expert. Well, he told he was an expert, but now I don't know anymore whether he is or not. And he's been looking into that and has some more info on that for you later. So, Mark, let's just start with you. Why are we doing this?
It's strange, and I still can't quite get my head around it, but the year 2000 was 19 years ago now. It still feels like yesterday, and it can't possibly be nostalgic, but it is. It's actually a completely different era of football. Pete's already mentioned he's got a lot of great memories. I've got a lot of great memories. I think it's that era of sort of teens and 20s. It's just the best time for everything, isn't it? So it's going to appeal to a certain age, but also younger people, the sort of start of the Mourinho era, that's when football changed forever. And that period just before that is really interesting looking back. So I think there's loads to go at. All that and quickly Kevin already done the 90s. So.
Lads, should we do a 90s podcast? No, done that one. So what can we do?
This is basically like I'm looking at it as kind of like counselling of when life was good in every form. When Arsenal were good, when I was younger, when I weren't as fat, when I didn't have hair on my back.
I don't know, mate.
Well, I mean, you two know. It's worth saying you two know each other from a long time ago, right?
Yeah. Started from the bottom, now we're here.
Yeah. We were at uni together when Arsenal went unbeaten, when Stoke had Sammy Bangura banging him in. Johan Boskamp, the absolute glory days, wasn't it, mate?
Yeah, it was the glory days.
Were you sharing a house together?
Yeah,
we did, yeah.
Big time.
With big time shared house.
Final year.
There's a darkness to that. There's a real darkness. That wasn't there. There's a real worrying darkness.
We shared in the final year, so that was the Arsenal run to the Champions League final.
Yeah, don't talk about that, mate. Don't get him going.
Me crying in the living room when Lehmann saved that penalty from Riquelme.
This genuinely is therapy. This is counselling.
I never, honestly, when Arsenal went the season unbeaten, I never thought that would be the pinnacle of it. I never thought that it would, be 19 years later.
That's a bold prediction.
Left.
Season unbeaten now, we'll better this.
Yeah, but I just kept thinking, well, surely we're going to win the Champions League. Like, any time soon. It was ours. And I mean, we're in the Europa League now. So.
Didn't happen in the end, did it?
I know what you mean, though, about thinking you're going to better the season. Because I remember when Leeds were in League One and didn't get promoted, I thought, I'm sure we're going to better the season at some point in my lifetime, which we did. And, we're all right at the moment under Bielsa, so we're doing all right. But, when you think Stoke and Borough in the noughties, what are the memories that come back for you? Because Stoke, it was an interesting decade for you.
It was. We started off in the third tier. We had 2 promotions. Still my favourite ever night, football or otherwise. The playoff semi coming up from the third tier at Cardiff, absolutely phenomenal. Then obviously we went up to the Premier League, and that era, the second coming of Pulis, with all the players that were coming in. We won 4-0 at Ellen Road, putting 5 past Norwich.
He didn't need to. He did. But he did.
And then obviously bloody and noses, including Arsenal's in the Premier League. It was just phenomenal. So yeah, fantastic decade for me.
We got to the UEFA Cup final. We were in Eindhoven, where things went quite badly against Sevilla. But, that run was unbelievable. The fact that McLaren was throwing 6 strikers on for the last 10 minutes of games and just throwing everything at it. And it was just at that time, the League Cup win, this whole sort of, this feeling that the club had been growing for a long time. We'd had the Juninho era. Of course, he was back for a big period of it. But we'd sort of had this initial kind of burst, and we'd sort of quietened down. And then all of a sudden, the McLaren, we were going for it again. It was a fresh team. There was all these great players in that team. And okay, the tactics were crazy and it was just charge, effectively. But it was amazing that time.
We'd love to hear from you, of course, if you want to get in touch with us. The email is contact@planetfootball.com. We said the email because you could have done that at the start of the noughties, but you wouldn't have been able to tweet us. But you can tweet us as well, and Mark will tell you the Twitter handle, which isn't Planet Football, really unhelpfully. It is...
No, we're far too cool for that. It's Planet Football, the Portuguese spelling. Some guy who's tweeted, I think, 14 times about 10 years has unfortunately got Planet Football and we cannot get it off him. So Twitter, if you're listening, please help.
Yeah, we'd quite like that. But, or if not, like I say, contact@planetfootball.com. So each episode we will be digging into one element of the noughties. From the sublime to the ridiculous today, it's the heroic goals of Henry, the poise of Pires, the brilliance of Bergkamp, the verve of Vieira, the composure of Campbell. I could go on, but I won't. This week, it's Alex Brooker's Paradise in a Podcast. It's the Invincibles.
Thierry Henry. The Professional Footballers Association Player of the Year for last season is the first scorer for Arsenal at the beginning of this.
Penalties, this is hat-trick. Yes!
Into the centre. Only looks for Wiltor, 3-0. Within seconds of Middlesbrough looking menacing on the edge of the other penalty area, Arsenal have sprinted away, and they are sprinting away with this game.
And his left foot through the wire.
Oh, what a shot! It's a fabulous goal from Robert Perez. What about that from Gilberto? And what about that from Arsenal? This is exhibition stuff.
It has been turned in now. Saul Campbell and J. Lloyd Samuel will almost put him past his own goalkeeper.
Make a note of the date. May the 15th, 2004. History has been made. One of the greatest achievements since English football began. Arsenal have gone through an entire league campaign without losing. The first time it's happened for over 100 years.
How was your intro for you?
Wonderful intro. Really
So the
rousing.
Invincible, Alex, we're going to start with you because this presumably looking back is just the greatest year of your life.
It was. When I look back on it, I don't think I appreciated it anywhere near enough at the time. You know, we went through my entire first year at university without losing a single league game. And like now, it's just kamikaze football. And I wish I'd have just literally sat and savoured every single moment of it. Because I remember when the year before Wenger had said, I believe that we can go a season unbeaten. And we were quite close to winning the league that year. And we completely threw it away. Threw it away at Bolton away. Remember, we had to have I remember Keown went off injured and Segan played at centre half. And I just thought, you will not go in a season unbeaten with Pascal Segan playing centre half if anyone gets injured. And then, you know, we went on this incredible run at the start, but you kept thinking, well, we're going to lose soon. I tell you when I started to think we might do really well was when the game at Old Trafford, when Van Nistelrooy missed that penalty in the last minute.
Yeah.
And even though it all booted off, you just thought it's going for us here. It could go for us. And it was amazing as well. And also you forget that in the Champions League that season, we started really badly. We got absolutely humped by Inter Milan at home. And it was you just thought, we are nowhere near the level we need to be. And then I remember us even there, going away to Inter Milan, winning 5-1. Henry scored a hat-trick. It was unbelievable. He made Javier Zanetti look absolute dog shit. It was like he was toying with him at times. It was like, and it just came together. It was just a pleasure to experience it all. And at the time, and I was at uni for the first time as well. Like I'd been to an all-boys school, so all of a sudden I was in an educational atmosphere with girls and shit like that. And, you know, drawing pictures of footballers wasn't acceptable, but it was fine because it was Robert Perez and he was banging them in.
I just wish
he was banging them in. I wasn't.
No, definitely not. I wanted to mention that, but I thought I'll leave it for you.
I wish everyone could see your face right now. I mean, the broad smile on your face just talking about that season. That's what it does,
I had
isn't
a
it?
poster of Perez. I've been like a massive door poster of him in my room.
We might
That
know
explains the
exactly,
previous
yeah.
point.
That team, though, Alex, like I think now of all the teams I've ever seen, that Invincibles team had the best balanced squad you could ever think of, because you had the flair, you had the reliability, you had the hard men, you had every aspect of every footballer you would ever want covered in that one team. It was perfection, that side.
It's amazing when you look back at that team and you think of the amount of power that was right through the side. So you had like Lauren at right back, was just like a strong guy. Campbell and Toure were strong centre halves. And then you had Keown that had been relegated to the bench. And then through the middle, you had Vieira. And then you had like Gilberto, who, even though like you wouldn't have thought of him as powerful, he was like such a good player. And then you had somebody like Henry up front. And right through the spine of the team, there was like strength. And yet no team he ever assembled after that. He started buying all these little players after that. And it's incredible to think
People forget
back.
that about Henry, don't they? Because they think of him, as being a silky flair player, which he was. But he could, match up to any centre half, and you know,
Yeah.
physically he was fantastic,
Yeah,
wasn't
he
he?
was, and because he was so quick, no matter how hard the centre half was, when you've got a striker playing against you that quick, you can't. There's no bullying him because you know that they're just going to go past you.
Yeah.
So he just had them all. He just had them all on their backsides, and it was just. The place was rocking. And it's like when you think back to Highbury, you do think back like when people go, I wish we were back there. Yeah, we do. We wish we were back at Highbury, but we wish we were back at Highbury 03, 04.
Yeah.
And you speak of stadiums that are no longer there. I mean, you win the league at Spurs, at White Hart Lane.
Oh, that day. I got up hungover, and I know this sounds fairly wanky, and it is, but you've got to bear in mind, I was 19. I had Champions 04 put on the back of my Arsenal shirt.
All right, I'm sorry. No.
And I remember getting it done at this like JJB Liverpool, and the bloke just going, "You haven't won the league yet." I was like, "Yeah, but we're going to today." And I remember being in my Students' Union watching it and had it zipped up the whole time. And I remember like when we went 2-0 up, and it's like, oh, surely we're going to mess this up. The excitement of winning it at Tottenham was too much. You couldn't imagine it. And we went 2-0 up in like 10 minutes. And I remember it was party time. And even when they came back, it was just, the celebrations and all the abuse that Campbell had got as well. And it was just, I remember the little inflatable Premier League trophies. I'd have given anything to have been at White Hart Lane that day. It was incredible. I remember whipping off my hoodie.
What point did you unzip
I didn't
to
think it was
reveal?
wanky until you described the unveiling.
At what point in the game did you unzip full time? You waited till full time.
Whipped it
It's round the head.
Whipped it off. I remember. I thought,
Fair play, Booker, for actually lasting, because 2-0 up, he
Yeah.
is honestly the most emotional football fan I've ever met in my life. Good or bad, you know, we're seeing it through the eyes of Alex Brooker.
Yeah, I did. I cried. And thing was, I remember buying champagne because it was El Clasico afterwards. I remember sitting there with this Champions 04 shirt on and buying this champagne. But obviously, I mean, it wasn't a high standard. It was a student's union. It was just this fizzy wine that I paid like 15 quid for. But God, I felt on top of the world. What a day that was. I really thought I was going to go out that night, have a good time.
Zip the jumper back on.
It was just wonderful. And even when we won the league, you didn't think we'd go a season unbeaten. I remember we played Birmingham like the following week at home, drew 0-0, and it was just like no one could give a shit. Yeah. Like the players couldn't have given a shit, the crowd couldn't have given a shit. It was like we might as well just end the season now. It's weird looking back because this is going to sound mad, I still feel some sort of disappointment at that season because we should have won the Champions League, and that was the year when Porto won it. And you looked at the teams that were left, and when we got Chelsea in the quarterfinal, and that was probably the most difficult game left. We drew 1-1 in the first leg at their place, and we went 1-0 up at home in the second leg, and you just thought, we 1-0 up at half time. I can't see him assembling a better team than that is better equipped to perform in the Champions League. And might I add, it was before football went crap. Loads of billionaire owners came in, and we were doing it the right way as well.
Can I say, this is such like successful football team supporting mentality, which drives me mad, right? From people who've been starved from success, again, which is only a football fan who is spoilt rotten to the core with magnificent football, going a season unbeaten, winning trophies, will then say, I was disappointed because we didn't win the Champions League. I just want to win something, mate. I just want to win anything.
I always use this analogy. If you broke your thumb and you turned around to me and you said, oh my God, it hurts, I'd say, well, at least you've got loads of fingers and a thumb to hurt. But it wouldn't stop your thumb hurting, would it? So
that is an absolutely brutal takedown there.
My thumb. I'm just trying to work out if my thumb still aches.
No matter who you support.
It's all relative. What I'm trying to say to you is, it's all relative. And if you slag us off one more time, I'm going to break your thumb.
Move thumbs off table.
But that Champions League one, you're right. That who was left in that competition?
Yeah.
But like, I mean, Porto had bottled something. If we're being honest, obviously we had that incredible run. They had found something. They'd bottled something, and they were making a charge. But yeah, that was, I think, definitely their best chance, Arsenal, of winning the Champions League.
And it was the same year. And I remember just before we played Chelsea in the second leg, we had a cup semi-final against United, and he kept like quite a few of the first team in. It was like one of those weird things because you're looking at it and go, do you rest people? I don't think he did really. He made a few changes, and we still played well, but managed it. We ended up getting beat, and then we just within the space of a week we were out of the FA Cup, We were out of the Champions League, and then that was when we played Liverpool, and we kept going behind, and it was just like, we're going to balls the league as well. Like, that was before the Tottenham game, and that was when Henry just took it by the bollocks and went, we're not having this. And that goal, when he dribbled around past like half the Liverpool team, made Carragher look like an amateur. It was just so many amazing moments in that season, not to mention the fact that we completed a season unbeaten on my 20th birthday as well. And I was
that actually on your birthday?
On my birthday, 15th of May, 2004.
And he's still complaining about the Champions League. I mean, come on, mate. You had it all. They gave it all to you.
No, it's the first and only Arsenal game I've ever been to on my own. It was amazing.
Were you wearing your Champions champion shirt with Champions written on the back, presumably, at that point?
Champions 04. And
of course you did.
There was a lot of other people that had them as well. I thought I'd been really unique.
Trailblazer.
I was first. I was literally first.
I think I probably was. Yeah.
You did it before they'd actually won it. So.
Yeah, I know. And the worst thing is, like old football shirts are worth quite a lot now.
Yeah.
Like those 03, 04 shirts go for quite a bit, but you've got Champions 04 on the back of it. It doesn't matter whether we did it or not. Taking the value right down. I just want to tell people now, like City fans or whatever, just don't
do it.
Don't ruin these
Don't be
shirts
that
with
person.
putting stuff on the back, because you can flog them for loads.
Whilst we consider how much money Alex Brooker could have made from his Arsenal season-winning shirt, let's get the view of someone who was there at the time and viewed the whole campaign from the bench. It was Arsenal's number 2, and here's what happened when we spoke to Graham Stack. Welcome to the Broken Metatarsal. Graham Stack, everybody. Morning, mate.
Thanks for having me.
When you think back to that season, what are those first things that spring to your mind? It must have been incredible.
Do you know what? There was so many fond memories really from start to finish. A lot of it, I must say, is a bit of a blur with it being that long ago. But there's obviously some memories that will just never leave me really. Sort of making my debut, initially being called up to actually get changed in the first team squad. That first day of pre-season, when you walk in the door and just naturally sort of make your way down the corridor to train with the reserve team, and sort of Liam Brady pulled you and said, "No, Stacky," said, you're moving up with the first team." And then you walk in, you're sort of shaking, sort of thinking, "Oh my God, this is sort of like a bit surreal." And then you walk in, and then you've got your name tag in between Sol Campbell and Carnu. And that was a bit mind-blowing at first. No one sort of teed it up or told me prior to that. It was just a case of sort of finding out on the day, which was a special moment. Being around such an unbelievable team, really, of not just individuals, but collectively what we went on to achieve as a group was, in my opinion, is going to be very difficult to achieve again.
Great. You said you're sort of shaking when you found out, trembling a little bit, which is totally natural. Presumably that's why they tell you on the day, right? So you're not shaking for 2 weeks in advance, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. They couldn't have put me with two bigger fellas, Sol Campbell and Carno. But do you know what I must say as well? When young lads did make that step up, with certain individuals within that group, such as Ray and Martin, that would make the extra effort with you initially to sort of bed you in, if you like. There was no arm round him, let's make a fuss of him. With the other lads, it was just like, look, he's part of us now. He'll soon find out what it's all about, and the expectations and the levels that you've got to set. And it wasn't so long after that Cesc came in as well, and obviously Cesc was younger than me. But blimey, sort of he come in and he set the world alight. He was very casual anyway. I don't think Cesc got daunted by anything, I've got to say. For being in that company, he probably felt it was pretty natural for him at the time. But
he wasn't a shaker.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't, not at all. I remember when he first came in, this young boy sort of turned up, shorts were baggy, top was baggy, he looked like he'd just come out of school. And I was like, who on earth is this young kid? And then we were doing like the boxes, like the rondos and stuff. And he's not giving it away for about half hour. And I'm thinking, who on earth is this? I don't know anything about him. No one knows really who he is. Just know he can't really speak English. He keeps smiling at everyone and he ain't give the ball away. And I thought, he's doing all right in a minute. That helped me because we made our debuts together as well. But no, it was nice to have someone else in that change room at the time as well.
At the start of that, Graham, you mentioned Ray Parlour and Martin Keown, and they were kind of the last of the old guard, that lasted as Arsenal came in and brought in all these fantastic players. I think Ray Parlour spoke about it quite a lot. It was like two worlds colliding. You must have some stories about these different kind of characters in the dressing room and how they all interacted with each other.
Do you know what? I've always said that you've got to find the balance, haven't you? So you've got to have young, you've got to have enthusiastic, energetic, you've got to have old, you've got to have experience, you've got to have know-how, you've got to have nous, and then you've got to have some flair, you've got to have some robustness and some lunatics, which we had. Martin Keown. Martin gave us that balance single-handedly. And then you're going to have your technical players, and like your Robbie Ferrez and And the list is endless. So I always felt the balance was brilliant. The team spirit from day one was unreal. And you've got to look at the team in terms of individuals and what they had achieved, and when they came in. And then you've got Ray Parlour being Ray. It's the Dennis Bergkamp thinking, who on earth is this ginger fella? Curly hair, just running amok around the training ground, just causing absolute chaos with the chef, with the kit man. All these lads are coming in thinking like he's an absolute madman.
The big question is, Graham, who was running the music back then? Imagine there's a few different tastes.
Yeah, well, there wasn't many of us that had like the old iPhones back then, to be honest with you. But Thierry had every gadget in the book. Sort of like if there was a gadget out, Thierry would have it like 3 weeks before everyone. So he was the one. Yeah, to be fair, Vic Akers used to have you say like a boombox. I don't even know I couldn't even call it that back then. It was just like a small speakers.
Vic Akers and his boombox. That's a sensitive idea.
Yeah, and then Thierry would have obviously the aux cable back then. I don't know if he had Bluetooth, but as soon as he'd walk in the morning, he'd fire the tunes on, and everyone just sort of cracked on and got on with it. Same on a match day. Thierry, sometimes I think Coley would throw some music on as well, but yeah, there was something on there for everyone.
And with the music, when you sort of make your debut in the first team and you start joining that setup and stuff, is that the true sense of acceptance? Not when you're playing in the team, but when you're allowed to pick a tune. Is that when it's like, right, lads, he's in now?
Yeah, well, do you know what? It's funny you say that, because I'd done a piece in the build up to my to my debut against Rotherham, and it was with the Sun, and it was they came to the Scream Records in Cockfosters, so I used to collect vinyl and DJ, which was like all old garage and house tunes, and one of the lads had put it up in the changing room, so I'm there with my headphones on behind the decks in this record shop doing an interview, and then obviously after that the lads were like, they sort of like challenged me a little bit and said, like, you think you know what you're doing, will you put some music on? And I put some tunes on, and to be fair, it went down well. It got accepted. You're
going straight in there with a DJ looking MC Neat, is that what you're saying?
I don't know what I threw on. It was about that era, though, to be fair. You can't be far
That's
off.
a great era for garage music and stuff.
It is. Yeah, it is. So, yeah, I think in terms of the music, and I would say I held my own, I've got to say.
Arsene Wenger, just Graham, on the League Cup, you made your debut in that game against Rotherham, that amazing penalty shootout. You scored a penalty in that, right?
Yeah, I did, yeah. I mean, that was another, what memorable day. So, I grew up in pubs in West London. Parents had 2 pubs in West London, and obviously when sort of word got round that I was playing, making my debut for Arsenal Highbury, that was 2 50-odd seater coach loads, ready to go. So I had loads of family there to support me, loads of friends. So I remember going off my warm up, and my gloves had split, and I only had a brand new pair of gloves, which is, goalkeepers always tell you shouldn't wear a brand new pair of gloves out the wrapper. For a game, because it just doesn't bode well with the ball, especially if it's wet. They just kind of need to break them in. Yeah. And I remember in the warm-up, I could not catch a thing with these gloves, and I was an absolute bag of nerves. I was a nervous wreck. Every time someone sort of hit a volley at me, I'd spill it. I was making me even more nervous than what I actually should have been. Then I turned around behind the goal to get a ball from the ball boy, and I could see like 100-odd people, friends and family, directly behind my goal, and I just thought, this is getting worse. This is not what I need. I wanted them to be sat the other side of the stand. And then I think as you sort of get warm and you get changed and you get up for the game, it just sort of, your nerves settle. And I think I come and caught a cross early on, and that was me. I was all right after that. I think I made a pretty decent save within about the first 15 minutes. So I kind of settled, and the game just happened. The game went pretty well for myself, and I ended up scoring late on. Darren Byfield scored an equaliser late on, which I was kind of gutted about. But then, as being a goalie, it's always at the back of your mind thinking, this could go to pens here. We've just got like another half hour, and there was part of me that didn't really want to nick it in extra time.
I love that. Just a part of it. As a goalie, in the back of your head, you think, "Hey, wait a minute, this could be my night here. It's on this one."
This is the dream, innit? This is what you've grown up dreaming about. Making your debut at Highbury, going to penalties, and then saving the winning penalty, which has always been a dream, innit? But then adding scoring one, it's like, hold on a minute, they don't get better than that. The only thing I tend to leave out with the penalty shootout is the score, I must say. I tell people I scored one and saved one. But then when they ask when you sat with 9-8, you get loads in. So I always try and...
It was those new gloves, everyone. It was wet. I couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, I sort of swerve telling everyone the score line to make it sound slightly better. But listen, to score a penalty and to save one on your debut at Highbury under the lights, with a little bit of drizzle on the pitch and all your family there. The most memorable thing I could have taken away from my football career, most certainly.
What's interesting to me is that Arsene, as we saw again and again, once a team was going well, in the League Cup, he left it that way, of course, including a final as well. And that's the other thing for you, wasn't it? That you probably knew that you would actually keep going as long as the League Cup run went.
Yeah, well, he actually pulled me before the Borough game in the semis, and we lost Martin Keown and got sent off after about 20 minutes. But he actually said to me in the hotel before the game, look, Stacky, if we qualify and get to the final, you will play. He didn't have to say that. That was something he could have just left me and just let me get on with it and made me stew. But he, for him to have put himself out, and maybe that was to put me at ease slightly and maybe give me that boost of confidence before the game. To say, look, I'm backing you regardless. You're going to play in the final. So, listen, we didn't get there in the end, unfortunately. But what an incredible journey, to play against the teams. I did to get to the semi-finals of the League Cup.
I mean, I was there, Graham. I was at that second leg.
I've got to tell you, Graham, he's been setting you up for this, right? As soon as you mentioned the League Cup, he was buzzing because he set you up as a Borough fan. He's totally set you up here. He's got you on a hook right now, and he just wants.
Actually, I'm actually going to be very because I remember firstly, Arsenal. You actually played pretty well in that game. It was an own goal from Reyes that killed it, but there was one save that and I'm not just saying this because you're on the podcast, mate. There's one save that I still think is one of the best saves I've ever seen in real life. Which is a macaroni flick.
One.
If it went, macaroni flicks it like sort of jumping back heel. It's one of the weirdest shots you'll ever see. Yeah. And that save, Graham, I wasn't teeing you up. I was actually teeing you up for a compliment because that was an unbelievable stop. That.
Well, it's funny you say that. People ask me, what's the greatest save you ever made? And I say they're all important for different reasons. You either keep the team in the game, or you keep the team up, or you go on and win the game, or whatever it might be. But actually, that save on that day has always stood out for me. I've got a few memories. As I said, quite a while ago.
As a Borough fan, Graham, I'll tell you, it feels like a long time ago.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That's why he's trying to relive it at any opportunity. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Graham, you mentioned Arsene briefly there. What was he like? Because I don't think people would expect this, but I get the impression he was actually quite a funny man, not always intentionally from things I've heard.
Because he got to know the group so well, and he trusted the group, and so I wouldn't say I had a great friendship with him by any means. And I wouldn't say many players did, but you did have a relationship with the manager. He did speak to you in the morning. He'd ask you about your weekend. He'd ask you about football matches. He'd ask you about training, and you would spend a lot of time together. And he'd always have funny one-liners, which surprised me because I didn't see it. And I remember one day I got on the bus with a packet of Werther's Originals and I think I bought a Diet Coke.
Old school, that, mate.
What a meal for a professional athlete that is.
For a person in the 20s as well.
Well, this is it. And I thought, well, I'll go Diet Coke because I'm on the first team bus. But I was on the youth team bus, so I'd have had a proper one. And me being me, I'm offering everyone a Werther's Original, sort of like flying around offering everyone sweets. And then I think the gaffer sort of seen it. And he's pulled the chef that we had on the coach at the time and just said, look, just let Stacky know that he's got to throw them in the bin. And I was like, shit, I didn't realise.
Graham, what were those first years when you joined Arsenal like? Because Arsenal had only been there a couple of years by that point. Obviously, he was making all these changes. When you first walked into the club, I know it was with the Y2s, but what was it like and what changes did you see in those first few years?
Well, the thing that blew my mind, I was sort of playing for the under-18s, and we'd be playing at the training ground and we'd play on Saturday mornings. So sometimes the first team would be preparing for games on a Sunday, so they'd be in. I just remember playing at London Colney and I'd turn around some days and like the gaffer would be behind the goal. He'd be behind the goal. We'd be watching the game. Like Arsene Wenger watching the under-18s game. That's like, you go up and down the country now, that's just unheard of. And when you see that, and I just thought that was, as a young player, that gave us all, I think, a bit of hope, and that showed that he was really interested in what we were doing as a young group.
Graham, are you sure he was interested in that, or he just wasn't checking you weren't there with your Werthers that he confiscated off you?
Yeah. Well, there's every chance, to be fair. Maybe he was keeping an eye on me.
I like the idea that he was going around confiscating. Like when he went home at night, he's got your Werthers, he's got someone else's jelly babies.
The whole room.
Everything just goes and snacks on them all at home, yeah?
Yeah, I bet he does.
Graham, when you look back to that invincible season, I mean, the one game that was so pivotal and stood out for a lot of people for so many reasons. And of course, you will have had an incredible view from the bench of how it all unfolded. Was that game at Old Trafford? The battle that went on there. From your perspective of where you were sat, how that unfolded? Because as a spectacle, it was incredible, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, it was what an emotional day that was. There were so many parts of that day that were just huge talking points. But ultimately, for us to have come away and not got beat was like, that gave us a huge lift because of what we had gone and done. Yeah, there was parts of the game that were, you'd look back on and say, we were quite fortunate, obviously, to have not lost the game, but the build up to the game and then after, I think that was not, I wouldn't say a turning point, but that was just a huge landmark in that season that made everyone realise what we can go on to achieve.
When you're on the bench during that game and you're looking at it, it's sort of kicking off and everything, and it's all going a little bit crazy after the penalty miss. Yeah. Is there any point where you think, do I need to get involved in this, or am I just going to just sit back and just cross my legs and just watch it all unfold here?
Yeah, no, I was more than happy watching Ray, but there was Edu had a little go, didn't it? And I think Lorenz sort of
he does a right sneaky one at the end, yeah.
But do you know what it is? What that is what I love to see about that is it's not just one, it's 2, 3, 4. They're all supporting, backing each other. Yeah. Was it right? No, of course it wasn't right. But when you're part of that team and you can see the emotion on their faces and what it actually means to individuals, I think that gives you all a lift. Because I think you're looking at these players going, that's how much they want it. That's how much they need to win games of football. That's how much they want success. Yes, the emotion can take over. Yes, the behaviour at the time was probably not great, but it's the emotion of football. And, you don't often see that. You don't see that a lot nowadays. So, yeah, you're on the bench. You're sort of you're just watching it all unfold, really. But there was never, ever at one stage was I ever going to get involved in that. Not a chance.
Was it that United game when you realised, do you know what, lads, we can go unbeaten here? That, when that is sensational to do that.
Yeah, I think that was a mess. Yeah, I must say, on that day with the penalty, and Man Nestor was probably one of the most remarkable goal scorers we've seen in that, in the league. For him to have then missed, and for them, that was like, well, here we go. This is on. And then after the game, you start to speak about it, and you start to actually think, yeah, we're going to do this. And after that, it was just that sense of belief. I didn't think anyone felt, we were going to games and I felt, but lads weren't, I wouldn't say they were too laid back. They thought it was going to be too easy for us, complacent. There was just that sense and that aura around the group that we just weren't going to get beat.
Winning the league at the White Hart Lane must have been an absolute chore as well, that, Graham. It's been horrible for you.
Awful day, Graham, mate.
But it could have been. Can you imagine? Had it gone so differently, we'd never sort of, we'd be talking about it now, especially Tottenham fans would be anyway. But so many elements of that day as well. We got absolutely hammered on the way in on the bus with all sorts. Music was on, people were having a laugh, people were playing two-touch in the changing room. As we did every game, home and away, there'd always be a little game of two-touch. And everyone was just sort of back in the zone. Everyone was preparing and ready to go. We obviously ended up getting a result, which kept us unbeaten, obviously won the league. So after that, I remember Jens after the game. Jens was gutted because it felt as though he was at fault for the goal. And I was like, big fella.
Was that the Robbie Keane? Was that the penalty?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it shouldn't have been a penalty, that, should it?
No, it shouldn't have been, but he's given it away, hasn't he? But can you imagine being a number 2 to Jens Lehmann? He was like, I couldn't sit down. I couldn't relax. Because he's throwing balls at people. He's dragging people around the throat. I'm thinking, he's definitely going to get sent off this season. And obviously, the longer the season was going on, you're thinking, you're going to put me under so much pressure because we're going to be unbeaten. We're going to have 2 games to go. You're going to lose your head and I'm going to have to play. And we're going to get beat and it's going to be my fault. So can you stop acting a goat and start throwing people around?
Did it get to the stage then, Graham, when you thought, do you know what, I don't actually want to play in the league this season?
Do you know what? I was desperate to play because I wanted to be part of that. But I want to sit at home and tell the kids that season I played in the Premier League. The issue was making one mistake, and then obviously costing this team of greatest achievement in Premier League football.
This would be a totally different interview right now, mate. Had you done that?
Yeah, well, can you imagine?
But that sticks with you then, doesn't it? Forever. That is a little nugget of trivia that sticks with you.
That is your legacy, isn't it? You're the goalie that cost them the Invincibles or the title for whatever may have happened on the back of that. Yeah. So the tension in going into games and throughout games, knowing that Jens can fly off the handle at any moment is that's quite scary. So we've won it. Jens has gone in, he's in the strop. So the staff have had to go in and get him, say, listen, Jens, liven up, we've just won the league. Come outside and celebrate. But he wanted a clean sheet. Obviously, we haven't kept a clean sheet, but we've won the Premier League, but he's still got the ump because he ain't kept a clean sheet. But that was the standards that Jens had set himself. But the celebrations in the change room after were brilliant. When
you look back on that season and the Invincibles and the incredible achievement and the part that you played with that squad that year, Is there one thing, something that a player or Arsene Wenger said, a moment in the changing room before or after a game, where you look back and you think that was the moment, that was the thing that was said that really got in the psyche, that really galvanised us towards such an achievement?
Yeah. I mean, there'd be incidents in training and stuff where you could just look in their eyes and you were like, these boys mean business. Like they're not this train ain't stopping. This is motoring full steam ahead. And I remember there was a game and it was Lorraine and Thierry, and Lorraine had gone clean for, I think it was 1-1 at the time. I think it was quite late on. I don't know if it was against Tottenham at home, to be fair. I can't remember the score. It was just before half time actually, and Lorenz should have cut the ball back. He hasn't. He's decided to try and shoot, and I think he's at the side netting. And they were arguing during the game. They've got in at half time, and I kid you not, it was like between the two of them. I thought they were gonna kill each other. I thought, oh my God, they are. Thierry was fuming with Lauren because he didn't cut the ball back. Lorraine was fuming with Thierry for shouting at him because he felt we should have scored. But when you saw what it actually meant to them two regarding the goal or no goal, and the group in general, and the way the whole group reacted was just like, they're just serial winners, and they don't care how much of and they were close, they were really close, but they just put that to one side. When it came to football, it was about winning, it was about performances, it was about scoring goals, and it's been about being successful. And I think that was special to see, and I think that's something that I've always took with me in my career.
Graham, thank you so much for joining us on The Broken Metatarsal. Fascinating to hear from you. And if nothing else, the first time ever I think we've ever heard of anyone who listens to garage music and likes a Werther's original. If nothing else, mate, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Lovely speaking to you, mate.
Cheers, fellas. Take care.